Milind, thank you very much for joining us here on the CNN-News18 Townhall. You are our first guest tonight, and what a way to start. The question that we're posing before the audience and the question we're posing before you is, who is the real Sena? And for you personally, it's been quite a journey because you've come from one end of the political spectrum, now you're on the other side of the political spectrum. In many ways, do you reckon that this election and what is at stake for this city, for the politics of this city, is really who gets to be the real heirs or the real legatees of this very established and historic party? Your side lays claim to that legacy, so does the other side. Why should your faction, the Shinde faction, be considered the real Sena?
Thank you, Zaka. Thank you for having me. You know, who is the real Sena is something which, if you look at the strike rate of both parties, the party I belong to had a much better strike rate in the Lok Sabha elections as compared to the UBT faction. What will happen in the Vidhan Sabha elections, who will be the heir, if you will, of Bala Saheb's legacy, is something which is left to the electorate. But ultimately, what is most important, at least to a party like mine and to the incumbent chief minister, is how do we take Mumbai, how do we take Maharashtra forward? There's been a great deal of progress in this city, in the state, in the last 2 years. I think that the state and Mumbai in particular lost out a lot, fell behind just before the government changed 2 years ago. And you have to remember politically that in 2019, the last time there was a state election in Maharashtra, the electorate of Maharashtra actually voted for an NDA government. It's the UBT faction that insulted the verdict of the people, took a complete U-turn, and ended up where they are today. So these are things which will be laid to rest in this election. But the primary objective, more than who becomes the rightful heir or who is the real Sena, is what can we do to transform Mumbai, what can we do to transform Maharashtra, and that's what I'd like to talk about. You asked me about my own personal journey. Yes, my own personal journey has been extraordinary, if you will. And, you know, before everything else, before the ideological divides in our state, in our country, in the world, in fact, globally there's so much polarization because of ideological divides. I've always believed, and my late father used to say this, that more than ideology, trust good ideas. And as a Mumbaikar, I have for the last 20 years, as someone who's lived here, grown up here, studied here, done my politics from here. I'm not one of those politicians who lives in New Delhi but then goes to some part of a rural part of India once a month by train and does my politics. This is where I live. I fought from the areas each and every time from the area I live. I've never fought from another area. And so I'm passionate about Mumbai. I'm passionate about Maharashtra. I'm excited by the transformation that Mumbai is seeing right now. I'm excited by the fact that projects that I personally tried to push through for a decade and a half are finally seeing the light of day. And I think that it's Mumbai's time to shine. The MMR region, which is the Mumbai metropolitan region, which till recently was only one part of this region, has now expanded considerably and is set to expand even further. And Mumbai's metropolitan region, Zaka, will be an economic, social, cultural growth driver, not just for Maharashtra, but for the country as a whole.
But Milind, tell me this. You talk about the infrastructure projects, and yes, admittedly, there has been a lot of infrastructure projects that have come up in the last few years. But just a couple of days back, we saw the story of a middle-aged woman being drowned to death in an open drain. A few months back, we had the story of a billboard falling on people and 17 people dying. Surely, it is appalling that in this day and age, in a city like Mumbai, people should be dying because of woeful civic infrastructure.
Yes. No, absolutely. And can you change things overnight? No. But has the change begun in a city like Mumbai with regards to the BMC and the municipality? Absolutely it has. For 25 to 30 years, the Uddhav Thackeray Sena used the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, which mind you is the largest municipal corporation in the country. The annual budget of the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai is more than the budget of certain states in our country. It was used as an ATM. If you look at roads, for instance, this monsoon, we're still in the fag end of the monsoons. I have, in the last 2 years, seen the pothole debate in Mumbai, which is an important debate, reduce considerably because the quality of roads have started to improve. I'm not saying they've improved. I'm not saying the roads are perfect. I'm not saying there's not enough work that we have to do. But they've started to improve. Now, if I give you one statistic which baffles people who are not from Mumbai, NHAI, which is the National Highway Authority of India, 2% of their annual budget was spent on repairing Mumbai's roads each and every year. And why was it being done? This dumber, as we call it, tar, bringing shoddy contractors who've been blacklisted, getting them to repair the roads again and again and again and again, 3 times a year, 4 times a year. It was done only to encourage corruption. Now, has an attempt been made by this government to break the politician-contractor nexus? There has been an attempt. There is an experiment underway to concretize Mumbai's roads. Will it achieve full success? Will it solve the problem? I don't know. But is it making some progress? Yes, it is.
No, you mentioned
the municipality of Mumbai, unfortunately, has seen misgovernance for 30 years. The UBT has controlled the municipality of Mumbai for 30 years. It will take time to unravel that. It will take time to improve governance in the Mumbai municipality. And there are many other reforms that one can talk about which even transcend politics.
But tell me, you talk about the BMC and you talk about the inherent corruption over the last 30, 35 years and so on. You have not called an election of the BMC in the last 7 or 8 years. And your critics on the other side, your opponents on the other side, say the reason you're not calling for the election is because you're not confident that you will win. Actually, if you were confident, you would have called for the elections of the BMC.
Actually, few corrections. It's for about 2.5 years that the elections haven't been called. And a part of that period when the elections weren't called, when they were due, in fact, MVA was in power. So you can say both governments are technically guilty for not calling the election. But the election calling is not the process of the government. It's for the election commission to do that. There was an issue which had a certain problem in the Supreme Court. That issue got resolved. So now I'm sure that after the Lok Sabha election is completed, the Vidhan Sabha election will be completed. The next election, not just in Mumbai, in all of Maharashtra, will be the municipal and local body elections. So that is something which I'll be very surprised if the election commission doesn't call as early as February or March next year.
No, so you don't subscribe to this idea that the elections have not been called because your party is not confident of ousting your rivals from the city? As
I said, for 6 months that MVA was in power, the elections were due in February 2022. For 6 months that the MVA was in power before the government changed, they didn't call an election. Why didn't they call the election?
Okay.
So there was an issue which was pending before the Supreme Court. There was an issue of the OBC quota. That issue got resolved. The Lok Sabha elections were called. The Vidhan Sabha elections are imminent for us. I'm sure that the Election Commission of Maharashtra will conduct local body elections in the next few months.
But tell me, I want to go back to the point.
And I think everyone is ready. Is my alliance ready? Absolutely, we're ready.
I want to go back to one of the points you made about infrastructure projects. And yes, admittedly, a lot of infrastructure projects have come up in the last 2 or 3 years. The Atal Setu, which is the Trans-Mumbai link. You've had the coastal road, the Mumbai coastal roads come up. And of course, very soon, I believe the phase 3 of the Metro Line 3 is also going to be inaugurated. But at the same time, recently, just last month, there was this news item about the MMRDA imposing a 1 crore fine on a contractor who built the approach road to the Atal Setu. There were cracks that appeared there. Just last month after the...
There were not cracks on the Atal Setu?
On the approach road leading up to the Atal Setu. Yeah, that's what I said. Similarly, in the coastal road, within months of it being inaugurated, there was reportedly water leaks and it had to be shut down for maintenance. So people are again questioning this whole contractor-politician nexus, which you said is being broken.
There's a difference between contractors executing projects like the coastal road and contractors that are doing shoddy road repairs. The contractors that the UBT was hiring to do shoddy road repairs in Mumbai, as I said, spending 2% of NHAI's annual budget, were people you never heard of. The people who are building these large infrastructure projects in MMR, in Maharashtra, companies like L&T, they're reputed companies. If there are issues, there was an issue of a leakage in the coastal road, that issue got sorted out. So, can there be teething troubles? Does this mean that the infrastructure is poor? Does this mean that the global giants and the best companies that deliver infrastructure projects, not just for India but around the world, companies like L&T, that those are bad companies? I think that will be very unfair to say.
You also mentioned about the drains and solving the waterlogging issue and so on. So this year, the BMC had allocated 250 crores. It had apparently appointed 31 agencies to desilt and unclog Mumbai's drains to solve the flooding issue. Despite this, we have seen, in fact, we're seeing it today, right outside where we are, there is waterlogging. So where is all this 250 crores gone?
Again, you cannot expect a systemic disease that has crept into the municipality, the richest municipality in India over a period of 30 years, to be unraveled within a 2-year period. Today I can tell you, if you ask anyone in Mumbai, has your commute, if it's by road, gotten smoother and better? Unanimously people will say, yes, it has. Is world-class infrastructure being built in this city? Everyone will say unanimously it has. Klaus Schwab, who is the leader of the World Economic Forum, he was with us when we went at the Chief Minister's residence. He said now there are few cities in the world where you can reach the airport within 30 minutes from wherever you are by public transportation or by road transportation. Large cities like New York, like London, they take 1 hour, 1.5 hours to reach the airport. But what is very important, I've addressed the issue of the BMC, that there was corruption, it was used as an ATM, that has been stopped. It will take time. It will take time to improve. We are beginning to see better results. It will take time to get to a perfect stage. I'm not denying that. There are other reforms that need to happen. But what's very important to note, what kept Mumbai behind in the last few years? Blind opposition to projects. The metro today was delayed by 4 years because of one man's ego. One young person's ego, who is, in fact, I have a personal relationship with, and I remember telling him at the time, you're delaying something which is not used by someone like you and me. You and I are privileged enough to use a car. People who need to use public transportation, they are affected and getting delayed by your ego. Today, the largest port in the country, and I've been shipping minister, so I know what port-led development means. The largest port in the country is coming to Maharashtra. It's coming to an area just north of Mumbai. It's about a 4-hour drive. It will, in fact, be a part of the MMR region in Vadhavan. That project was delayed by the UBT, by Uddhav Thackeray ji and Aditya Thackeray ji. The largest nuclear generating plant in the world, not in India, in the world, was coming to Konkan in Jaitapur, signed by who? By Dr. Manmohan Singh in 2010 with the French government. At that time, I think it was Nicolas Sarkozy who was the president of France. Delayed. So, when you are deliberately opposing projects, when you're in government and when you're in the opposition, how do you expect progress to happen? It's not going to work.
So I want to come
back.
back.
The Navi Mumbai International Airport.
Yeah.
I remember that Dr. Manmohan Singh, as Prime Minister of India, and this is on record, you can go file an RTI, a right to information, and you will get that answer. Dr. Manmohan Singh, as Prime Minister of India, holding charge of Environmental Ministry, Government of India, gave environmental clearance for the Navi Mumbai International Airport. Should have happened a long time ago. And mind you, that project is linked to the Atal Setu. It makes both viable. The Atal Setu becomes viable because of the Navi Mumbai International Airport and vice versa. A minister in his government, who then became Environment Minister, overturned that decision. So when you want jobs, you want to create opportunities. You can't create opportunities by protesting and opposing things. Today, take Dharavi. 1985, my late father brought the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi to do a Padyatra of Dharavi. At that time, in 1985, Rajiv Gandhi as Prime Minister of India expressed interest that we must change Dharavi, the largest slum in Asia, and we must redevelop it. 2002, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji as Prime Minister of India wanted to redevelop Dharavi. 2009 or 8 or 9, I remember Dr. Manmohan Singh, the former MP of that area, Eknath Gaikwad ji, was a colleague of mine, wanted to redevelop Dharavi. Today, Dharavi redevelopment is happening. It's not being done, it's being awarded to a private company, but the owner of the land is the government. There's a company called Dharavi Redevelopment Private Limited. It's a government-owned company.
No, because the opposition is saying that you're giving all of this land to one private player.
That is something which Devendra Fadnavis ji recently in another conclave exposed the opposition. That was in the media, reported very widely. But 2 lakh people, 2 lakh homes, 10 lakh people living in Asia's biggest slum will get 2 lakh homes. And Zaka, I can assure you, each of those homes, market price for those homes will be 50 lakh to 1 crore rupees. So almost 1 to 2 lakh crore rupees worth of homes are being given to people who are living in slums. Is this not a good thing for our city? Is this not a good development for our city? Should we continue to ensure that people live in slums so tourists come here, they go to TripAdvisor and they say, what's a good area to visit? Go to Dharavi, see Asia's biggest slum and take photographs. And in the process of that, deprive these people. So, you know, these things, when you don't like a particular company, you don't like a particular individual, you don't like a particular chief minister or deputy chief minister, you don't like a particular prime minister. When you are opposing these things because of your personal likes, dislikes and your personal egos, you are harming Mumbai, you are harming Maharashtra, you are harming India, and you're depriving people of development and progress.
Okay, I just want to come to the closing set of questions to Milind. Since you started at this whole business of strike rate, so your party's strike rate, 7 seats you won out of 15, which is at 46%, whereas the Shiv Sena UBT, it has more MPs than you, 9 out of 21. That's a strike rate of 42%. But then in the city of Mumbai, you have 1 MP and an MP who won his seat by 48 votes. They have 3 MPs. So what does that say about who is the real legatee?
Beyond strike rates and how many MPs, although Shiv Sena has been awarded the party symbol, the party name by the Election Commission, hasn't been stayed by the Supreme Court of India, every political pundit from Delhi to Mumbai wrote this party off in the Lok Sabha election. People, by the way, a party like the UBT said that this party would lose the Thane seat. And we won the Thane seat by, if I'm not mistaken, by 230,000 votes. In Worli, by the way, an interesting statistic which very few people in the media know. Worli, where Aditya Thackeray is an MLA, he came in 5 years ago with the promise of making it A++ Worli. In speeches, his cadre were telling the public that we are going to give a lead in the Lok Sabha election of 40,000 votes to the MP candidate. You know what their lead was in that constituency? 6,000 votes. So,
but they ended up winning the seat.
But 6,000 votes for a person who was a senior minister in the government of Maharashtra, whose father was chief minister. That's not what I see happening in Thane and Kalyan. So clearly, talk is cheap. Action is very, very difficult to implement. They had the power for over 2 years. They could have brought transformation to a constituency like Worli. They could have brought transformation where people live in slums, where the original inhabitants of Mumbai, the Koli Samaj, live there. They didn't do anything. So that's why I'm quite confident that when you ask me in the battle of the 2 Senas, we have a very good chance of not just outperforming them, that I'm certain we will do, but of coming back to power.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Milind Deora, extremely confident that his faction of the Sena will emerge as the real legacy keepers of Bala Sahib's legacy. Thank you very much for joining us. A round of applause for Milind Deora, please.